and it's really it's everyone's wake up call. It's for the people who aren't quite awake yet. We make sure that they are fully awake when you watch the nerds. And here comes nerds!
Get those nerds!
Well, there you go, guys. It's your wake-up call for a Thursday. It's time for the Bid Nerd, your daily nerd out on the most interesting cars of the day on all the automotive enthusiast auction sites, including Bring a Trailer, P-Car Market, Rad For Sale, Cars and Bids, and whoever else has an auction site this day, which there seem to be more and more every day. Good morning, Michael Deeb in San Francisco. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm telling you, for a week now, it feels like it's winter. It's just wet and foggy and rainy and just awful. So, but I'm great.
Hey, yeah, it actually rained here in Las Vegas too yesterday.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
It's crazy.
Fill up the reservoirs, yeah.
I know.
I don't know. It's just so bizarre. It's like it's 110 everywhere outside of the city, but the city is absolutely socked in. It's just like real typical cliche summer weather in San Francisco. It's awful. But other than that, JP is great.
Hey, well, you look great, buddy. Let me tell you. Look at that guy. That's a good-looking fella right here. And speaking of good-looking guys, we brought another one here because it's Third Nerd Thursday, and that seems to be the thing to do on Thursdays, bring in someone that knows way better than we do the values of cars and about cars and all the things. Well, basically, we're bringing in an expert. We're not experts. We're a couple of morons that do this every day, Monday through Thursday. So if you haven't hit the subscribe, like, or notification button, now's the time. But here's the thing. You're really going to want to make sure that you have that notification button so you know when we have experts like this fella. We have GYX Solberg. Oh my gosh. Look at this guy. Look how fancy he is. He's got a motorcycle behind him. From Overcrest Productions. He's slumming it with us. How's it going, buddy?
It's good. It's good. I think you're supposed to under promise and over deliver, and now you're building me up to be some expert. So I think we'll see how it all shakes out. But yeah, glad to be on with you guys.
Already feeling the Bid Nerds gravitas.
It's all about making us look better. And look, we need all the help we can get. That's why we bring someone like you on here to elevate us, whereas you're kind of slumming. I don't know if you're really doing a good thing for your brand, but hey, we really appreciate it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, if nothing else, I have plenty of opinions, so we can get to some cars here in a bit.
Yeah, Jake, tell us about the bike behind you. What is that?
That is actually literally a barn find. That is a 1966 CB 160. So it's an old Honda.
A Honda, yeah.
Yep, and it came out of the barn just like that. I got it for $50 from a friend of a friend of a friend of my dad's. And I was like, you know what? Now that I'm working from home full time with the pandemic, I was like, I need a better background for all these video calls that you do in corporate America. So I threw the motorcycle back there, and I don't know if you can see, I wired up the headlight even.
I can see it. The headlight looks like it's on. I'm like, you realize it's running, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's getting really fumey in here.
That's why you asked if how long the show is. You're like, hey, look, once I get 20 minutes.
How long am I going to survive here?
Yeah. How many cylinders is a CB 160?
It is a 2-cylinder, so itty-bitty little, 80 cc cylinders in there. And what's cool is a lot of guys there's a big vintage racing series built around these bikes.
Oh, absolutely.
So a lot of guys still race these things, and I am not going to get into that. But it's a cool conversation starter, if nothing else.
That's awesome, man. Nicely done.
Thank you.
Very cool. Is that flooring on the wall, or is it just...
that is some old pallet wood.
Oh, you found some pallet
wood. It adds a little bit of texture and interest back there. And we also have the Overcrest poster from year one there as well, because as you know, we do rallies every year, and this year we'll be out in Utah.
Okay, Jake, where are you tuning in from? Where are you located?
So I am born and bred in the Midwest. I'm in Minneapolis area right now.
You are in Minneapolis. Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
So you guys were complaining about weather earlier. I don't think you get to complain around me, because unless you've lived through a Minnesota winter, you guys can't talk.
Yeah, no, I don't. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if JP knew how to ice fish, but I've never even seen somebody ice fish. So there you go.
Well, the real fun,
West Coast I am.
The real fun is snowmobiling. That's what we got to get you into if you're coming up for winter.
I would be down to that. As long as if we can get air, I'm in. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Is there any chance of a winter rally, Overcrest rally, where we just put spiked tires on the backs of our?
That sounds awesome. We might have to think about that.
Yeah, you're our guy. Rough. You're our Midwest connection, man. Make it happen. Let's do it.
Yeah, we'll get all the cars out here, do some ice racing. That's another big thing you guys probably aren't even aware of, is where they just plow roads and racetracks out in the middle of lakes, and you just ice race.
Oh, dude, I'd be so into that.
And what's cool about it is, because it's all usually, I mean, sometimes the snow gets really hard packed, but usually if you spin out in a corner or something, you're not doing any damage to anything. You're out in the middle of a lake.
Nothing. Yeah, that's great. I love it.
So...
yeah, and the snow is probably light enough at that point that you're not putting dents in your car if you hit the snowbank.
Hopefully not.
No, the only challenging part is they carved the track into a figure 8, JP. So you got to wear a helmet.
We drove up to Kelowna once with my brother-in-law in his Nissan Xterra, and we had watched the Ice Road Truckers. That's where they do all that stuff. We went up there to go snowboarding, and we're driving up the little ice road or whatever, and he's cruising along, and he's seen the show so many times. You always see the trucker go off in the snow and the big snowbank and the big plumes of whiteness. So he thought it'd be an awesome idea to do that. So while we're cruising down the freeway, he weaves over to hit the snowbank, and of course that snowbank is a frozen solid block of ice. He was expecting this poof cotton ball to envelop our truck, and instead it just goes kabang, crunch, and then all the way to 600 miles back to Seattle, the front wheels it was
airbags. Did you get deployment?
Luckily, he didn't hit it straight on. He just kind of sideswiped and dented the whole side of his fender. So
brutal.
There it is. Moral of the story: West Coast kids, not all snow is soft. All right. Well, we didn't come on to talk about the weather. Jake is here to lend us his expertise on cars, and what we do is we nerd out about the most interesting cars on Bring a Trailer and all those automotive enthusiast sites. So you don't have to. We whittle it down to the most interesting ones. We bring them to you, and then we get to the good part. We make predictions as to what we think those cars will sell for when the hammer hits the auction block at the end of the respective auctions. That will always happen today. We only talk about cars that happen today, except the first cars we talk about are the predictions we made from yesterday. So without further ado, Michael Deeb, let's talk about yesterday's cars and see how our predictions went.
JP, did you look at the results? Did you look at the results from yesterday at all?
Briefly, yeah.
Let me catch Jake up. So Jake, on Monday and Tuesday, JP got 9 of 10 predictions correct. So I've been getting my ass kicked all week. Yesterday, I did a little bit better, but what was so interesting about yesterday, JP, is 3 of the cars that we picked failed to sell. And I can't remember when we've picked 5 cars and more of them didn't sell than sold. I think that's a first for us. So JP, I think we started on cars and bids with a 2001 Ferrari 360 Modena. Now, what was interesting about this car, Jake, was red tan Scuderia shields. Somebody even put a challenge grill to let that engine breathe out the back. But this was an F1 gearbox, and JP and I have been covering a variety of Ferraris. Like, we've probably had a Ferrari every week, a mid-engine Ferrari, but they've all been gated shifters because those are the cars we'd want to drive. But as the gated shifter cars in this crazy hot market have started to elevate themselves out of the reach of any mere mortal, we wondered if that was picking up the values of the F1 gearboxes. And this 360 with like 16,000 miles looked to be in beautiful condition. It was in need of a belt service, but the 360 can be accessed without having to drop the motor, so it shouldn't break the bank. And the F1 gearbox on a Ferrari, on like this car, this is the second or third generation of this gearbox, I think. So it's not... Look, it's not a good gearbox. We know that. But chances are, anytime you're out driving this Ferrari, you're going to be at higher RPMs. You're going to be at closer to full throttle. And when you get into the higher RPMs and shift at full throttle, this F1 gearbox actually shifts faster and smoother. So in other words, the more you beat the car, the easier the gearbox reacts. It's when you're just tootling around town or you're trying to get out of the city and out to your favorite country road that this gearbox will kind of give you a low-grade headache. Like that. Nausea. Anyway, this car was beautiful. We thought it might break the bank. Trouble is, Jake, it was on Cars and Bids, Doug DeMiro's site, which I don't know. I mean, JP, would you echo the sentiment? It's not the enthusiast site. It's a good place to pick up a car for your teenager that's off to college, but I don't think that's where you go looking for a Ferrari. And so we were really betting against the platform. With all that being said, I still thought that the value of this car was like in the $90,000 range, and it might get up to 85 and sell. JP was a little more pragmatic and said 70,000. Our car reached $74,000 at the close of auction, but it failed to sell at that price. So, JP, you won that one, but 74 wasn't enough to take it home. Jake, have you ever driven one of these mid-engine cars, and do you love or hate that gearbox? What do you think?
I haven't driven them. I would obviously take the gated shifter like you would. My biggest takeaway from looking at that slideshow, though, was the branded matching umbrella with cover. I mean, that should have been the big selling point, guys.
Yeah. Every single Ferrari dealership is exit through the gift shop. And I mean,
yes.
There's like a single frame cartoon in an old like rodent track or something. And there's a guy at the bar, like an older guy with a Ferrari hat and a Ferrari necklace and a Ferrari shirt and a Ferrari jacket and Ferrari sunglasses, and then a girl with big boobs sitting next to him, and she goes, and he's like super surprised, and the single frame cartoon, and he's like, "How did you know I had a Ferrari?" Like it was like, it's like really funny. I mean, and it's like this is so like par for the course, right? You got to have all the swag. But JP, what do you think? I mean, I think you and I were, I mean. You were betting, I think, the platform. Yeah, that's all it came down to, right? I mean,
this is Cars and Bids. We love Doug DeMuro. We love what he does, but he does not have his platform together. It has very clearly become the middle of the road site. You can pretty much put anything on there that marginally fits within the enthusiast category, and no one is putting their high-end car on there because their car is going to be parked next to a 1989 Civic Si, which I don't know. I guess that's pretty cool. I should say something more mundane, like a
any
Kia, a Kia, like some kind of sport Kia or something like that. Or a Pontiac, something boring. They're just, they do well. They sell a lot of cars, but most of the stuff on his site sells, Land Cruisers and stuff. It's like between $15,000 and $35,000. If it's more than that, it pretty much doesn't sell. So 6-figure cars, don't take it to Cars and Bids. They're definitely better. This would have done better on P-Car Market, like in a big way.
Absolutely, which is what we said yesterday, and
you're right.
More and more it is becoming apparent that Doug DeMuro is not the place to go sell your exotic car or 6-figure sports car. Like this could very well have been on another site. So moving up to the top, JP, P-Car Market had a 2004 Maserati coupe, again with a single clutch gearbox, called the Cambria Corsa. Low mileage car, JP, was like 12,000 miles. It was black on tan. And leading up, after a week of being on P-Car Market, leading up to the start of the show at 9 a.m., and with 3 hours to go on this lot, our car did not have a single bid, which was part of the reason why I picked that car in the first place. I wondered if it might be the first auction that we selected that nobody actually wanted. And then while we were doing the show, JP, somebody dropped a $5,000 bid to get the party started. I still predicted that this car wasn't going anywhere, so I really bet the under. I said $5,900. Again, you were a bit more pragmatic. You said, nah, $10,000. Our car was bid up to $11,500, where it failed to sell, but within the hour, it sold for an offer on the deal tank for $14,000. So you won that one both ways and sideways, but it was technically an FTS because it didn't sell at the close of auction. Any love for these Italian cars, Jake, or what do you think?
I do love these things. You never could get them in a manual, unfortunately. So as far as I know, am I wrong on that?
There was a stick, but it wasn't a very sporty stick.
Really? Okay.
It was a long clutch throw, and the way the seat height came, there was a relationship between the pedals, the shifter, and the seat that was more like a Saab than it was like an Italian sports car.
Yeah,
you think of an Italian sports car, you want to be like all way back here, and like this kind of thing. And this was very widgety. But anyway, the manual's a better car. But most
hold on. Jake, you said you had one of these. Did I hear that correctly?
No. I had a Saab, since he was comparing to a Saab. So I can get behind that. Not a great driving experience. No, I love how these things sound, though. So, I mean, that's the biggest selling point of these cars, bar none.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, at $14,000, you could take that motor, that 12,000 mile motor out of that car and put it in your project car. I mean, imagine that in like a Corvair.
Is this, I don't know, you guys, is this an engine that you could throw, like if your Ferrari with the same engine has a problem, can you just buy one of these for $15,000 and pull the engine?
It's bigger displacement. I mean, it's closer to the F430 in as far as size. But it really comes from the era of the 360. So it's kind of a weird motor. I don't know that it's a direct engine swap, JP.
Because that becomes pretty darn interesting, because you hear about, terrible horror stories, people with their Ferraris, the 355 or their 360 or whatever, they lose the engine at 60,000 miles or whatever. Okay, you can't get a regular service for less than $15,000 when you go to the Ferrari dealership. You can just go out and buy a Cambria Corsa over there on P-Car Market and yank the engine on that for less money than it would be to just get the belts changed. I don't know. That's pretty interesting. Now the value of all these just went up.
Yeah, the engine here made 390 horsepower, but the basic architecture of this block was in that beautiful Alpha 8C, and in the 8C, this same engine basically made about I think it was 440 horsepower, so it was like another 50 horsepower because they basically turned up the wick for that very limited production Alpha. Anyway, interesting car, interesting result. P-Car Market pulled it out at the end and made the consignor happy. So that car is out there on the road. BaT had a 2004 Porsche 996 twin turbo cab with a 6-speed manual. A few miles on this car. JP, wasn't it like 59,000 miles, almost 60,000 miles? I said 55, you said 58. Our car sold for 57,500, meaning you were this close to a Yahtzee. Jake, you a Porsche guy? What do you think?
I actually just sold one of these. I had a 996 turbo. It was the coupe, not the cab.
Yeah.
But it was speed yellow, so I had that going for it as far as the rarity.
Did you leave it alone, or was it just a pure master engine, or did you get after it?
Well, the previous owner had spent way too much freaking money under the car. Yeah. So it had Öhlins coilovers all around. It had bullet control arms on everything. It had the Brembo big brakes, which meant you had to run the 19-inch wheels. So we had BBS wheels on it, the big tires. It had full titanium exhaust and like race cats and everything else.
Wow.
So it was a very fun car. So yeah, I love those cars. It'd be curious to drive one in a cab. Because then you can really hear it and feel the wind in your hair. But I'm not a big convertible guy. I much prefer the coupe.
If you had watched yesterday's episode, you'd have heard me just completely lambast cabriophobes. I am so over the hate. It's just so stupid. Now, I'm the first to admit that I like coupes too, but it's funny that people that don't like cabs, they only like coupes, whereas people that like cabs like coupes as well. I don't understand this binary worldview thing. It just drives me up the wall.
Well, here's the way I look at it. Where would my money go? Right,
well,
JP?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I guess that was kind of the point yesterday, too, was that I think it's kind of great that there are cabriophobes out in the world because it drives the price of cabrios down. And for people who do appreciate the drop top visceral experience, I hate that word, visceral. But for people who do want to have the wind running through the hair or lack thereof, it gives us an opportunity to get the better car for less money. So continue with the hate, you cabriophobes out there, and those of us who enjoy drop top life can do it at a lower expense. So I guess at the end of the day, you guys hate us. We love you. There it is. All right. Love that car, though. And either way, 996s are one of the best sports cars of all time. Doesn't really matter what configuration it is, as long as it has 3 pedals. All right. What else we got from yesterday there, Deeb?
JP, a couple American cars to wrap up the day on Bring a Trailer. Our first was a modified 1964 Lincoln Continental sedan with the suicide doors. A lot of really neat, subtle hot rod touches to this, including the 20-inch torpedo wheels that look like the hubcaps from Period, shaved door handles. Loving the colorway of black with the red leather. They did an exhaust and some sound system upgrades and stuff. But, it's hard to gauge. What do you compare this to as far as evaluation? So it's just you either love it or hate it, and you're willing to pay for it. I thought this car might bring 50 grand because it was already in the 40s when we looked at it. JP, you took the over at 51. Our car was bid up to $46,000, but failed to sell at that price. So, Jake, what do you think?
I love these cars, the old Continentals with the suicide opening doors. I was shaking my head right away, though, when you brought up the photo. The big wheels do nothing for me on these cars. I love that it is kind of the homage to the original, hubcap. But, I mean, maybe an 18-inch, 17-inch would just look so much better on this thing.
Yeah. Fair play.
I think most people would agree with you. And normally on paper, if you had said, hey, should we put 20-inch wheels on a car like this, I would be 100% being, oh, my God, anyone that would put dubs on this thing is just what an idiot. But looking at it, I got to say I like it. I can't believe it. I cannot believe I'm saying it out loud. But with the white walls and the shape and the whatever, who really cares what this thing performs like? Because, I mean, it's not like you're going around corners on this thing and it's got suspension that's squishy as hell. Why not? Why not?
No, it's not even about performance. To me, it's just the proportions are off. I mean, I love the look of it, but it is sitting higher than it should, the chassis, because you have to make room for that giant diameter wheel now. If you had a 3-inch smaller wheel, you could drop it a little bit lower to the ground. It would look perfect.
You don't like garbage can lids as wheels? I don't know. I don't know, man. Come on. Deeb, are you going to put wheels like this on your Cayenne?
Yeah, definitely. It's so funny, Jake. The proportions are off. When you look at it from a distance, it looks like a Hot Wheels car. It's really funny.
That's what I like about it.
You know what it is? It's think of a girl that's like 4'10", super skinny. Those are like triple D's that she bolted on.
Right.
Wait a minute. What's the problem here? I'm still failing to see the problem.
Yeah.
Nice wheels,
disproportionate.
Yeah. She might be adorable, but all she's going to do is complain about her backache. So,
There comes the ride of the car, by the way. That's the analogy there.
Yeah. So the last car was a 1993 Chevrolet Corvette ZR1 in ruby, which is a very unusual colorway. And this car has 561 original miles. So we wondered what the market would be for a basically unused sort of off color for a ZR1. We've seen these unusual colors bring big premiums with some of the European brands. We saw Mercedes SL 500 bring $45,000 because it was painted a similar color. And some unusual Porsches and Ferraris seem to bring high premiums the rarer the color is. So would that hold true for the Corvette? I said 65,000. JP said 60,000. Our car sold for 63.5. So it was the second car that sold and the second car that I won, and that was the day. What do you think? Any love for the Corvette?
The biggest red flag, as soon as you said it had 500 original miles, and this is what, a 40-some-year-old car?
Right.
I mean, is every single rubber seal on this thing dry rotted? Like, I'm just concerned about cars that aren't driven. I get if it's just going to be a museum piece and the next owner is going to use it as that, but cars need to be driven and exercised to maintain them. And I would be a little wary of that if I were in the market for this thing. I mean, the ZR1s, these are great cars, definitely not my taste, but I understand the appeal. I would be wary of getting a driver car that has 500 miles.
Jake, do you think there's any chance in hell the person who's interested in this car and bid on this car and actually bought it is going to drive it at 500 miles? Isn't this going
you're right. That's what it is. It is, again, just a museum piece. The guy probably has 57 other Corvettes, one from every year, and this one gets to park in between the two, that he was missing.
Right. Yeah.
Which I don't get it.
The only advice that we had yesterday for the new owner of this is just make sure you get a seismic test of wherever you're storing this car, because the earth God has spoken. He doesn't like these, and he will open up a crevice and swallow this car into the depths of hell where it belongs. Despite man,
what museum was that at?
It was the Corvette Museum somewhere in the Midwest. I don't know where.
I think the Corvette. I think it's in Bowling Green, Kentucky, but I could be wrong. I'm not a domestic guy.
That's a very specific guess. If
No. All right, now I have to look it up. I'm gonna look it up. Yeah.
Okay. These cars. Jake. Have you ever driven one? Have either of you guys driven a ZR1 of this era? A C4?
Not a ZR1. I've driven the Vet of that generation before. I mean, it's fine. The
ZR1 really actually does handle better than the the standard one or whatever, but it still doesn't handle well. It still creaks and makes all kinds of the thing about these fiberglass old Corvettes, when you drive them, they just make so much noise, and when you drive fast, even a regular one, that whole big fiberglass cowl on the front moves around, and you can see it move around, and it is not confidence inspiring to have half the car in one lane and you in the driver's seat in another lane when you're supposed to be going in a straight line. That is not something you want. Yeah, but they are terribly fun.
That reminds me, GP. GP. I don't know who GP is, by the way.
We'll take
general practitioner. No, it reminded me. I was at the shop with the 996 when I had it, and I found it so strange. They jacked it up to do different tires on it, and they opened up both the bonnet or hood and also the deck lid. And I was like, "What are you guys doing?" I was kind of concerned that they're working on something. And he's like, "Oh, well, we just know that any Corvette, you have to open up all the doors, the hood, and the rear hatch. Otherwise, they crack. So we're being careful. We don't know Porsches." I was like, "Are you kidding me?" He's like, "Yes, any of these Corvettes with fiberglass bodies, if you try to jack them up without opening the hood, it will fracture the fiberglass," which goes to show just how much, torsional rigidity they built into this thing. It's like a wet noodle.
Wow.
Hey, Deeb, so you worked in like a Mercedes dealership back in this era. Did you see these get traded in often? Did you drive one of these?
No, not to the Mercedes store.
You never saw them.
Not a lot of cross markets.
BMWs and some SUVs and things like that as they were starting to emerge. But no, we didn't get a lot of Corvettes. But that's not a reflection of the Corvette to Mercedes transition. It's a reflection of the Bay Area in large, which is just not a hotbed for domestic cars at all. We have just so many Japanese and European cars here in the Bay Area. I don't even know where there's a Buick dealership. How does that grab you? Like,
in 1989, I worked at a Porsche, Nissan, Volkswagen, Peugeot dealership. I washed the cars there, but that was it was probably 5 miles from the Boeing plant in Everett, Washington. So we saw a lot of these. I mean, all eras, every Corvette you can imagine. The old Stingrays, just Corvette. It was Corvette Central. You hardly saw any Porsches, and a Peugeot. Oh my God, that was just like totally crazy out there. So yeah, I mean, a lot of people would bring in their Corvettes and buy their best girl a Nissan Sentra or something like that. So we saw lots of that.
All right, last piece. The National Corvette
there's more
Museum
cars?
is No.
He's fact checking you or himself.
The National Corvette. We're bid nerding out here. The National Corvette Museum is located at 350 Corvette Drive in Bowling Green, Kentucky. So somehow I pulled one out of my butt. There you go.
I think you should give yourself a win in one of the columns just for pulling that.
Yeah.
You need the useless facts column.
Totally. Plethora of useless information right here.
All right. Show development. Good idea, Jake. All right. So it's time to get to today's cars. But before we do that, of course, we've got to talk about our favorite sponsor, GYX Customs Bracelet. That's spelled GYX _customs on Instagram. That's the only place you can get one of these. Look at that. Deep showing his paint to sample Rubino Rot. What is it? Rubino Rot metallic. Tell us what that is.
That's it. That is. It's 1984 Porsche color. There you go. My beads were paint to sample, and this bracelet was a gift from the artist. So very, very, very sweet.
Awesome. And this one, this particular bracelet was made to match the Porsche design monoblock titanium watch. You can see it's got titanium beads and paint to sample beads to match the face of the watch and everything. Basically, you tell the artist what car you have or what watch you want to match, and she will make you a handmade bespoke bracelet specifically for either your car, watch, or both. Tell her what inspires you, and she will make a bracelet to match. It's GYX Custom. That's spelled GYX Custom _ That's guys, GYX_customs on Instagram. That's the only place you can get one of these. DM the artist directly. You're not getting an order company out of India or something like that. You're actually reaching the artist. Check these out, man. Go to the Instagram page. There's a bunch of pictures of the stuff that she makes. It's all amazing. And we got to get Jake one for his motorcycle back there.
Yeah. How about a paint match to a Tangerine? I'd rather it match my 1970 911 in Tangerine. That'd be cool.
That'd be hot.
That actually sounds really dope. And maybe he'll send us a hat.
Yeah.
We are getting on it, guys.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, well, let's hear. It's time to get to the cars of the day. That is the most interesting cars of the day. And if you are paying attention, you may have noticed that the previous day, those were also the most interesting cars of the day. People always go, well, why are you talking about a 2004 or a 1993 Corvette? There's way more interesting stuff. Well, I don't know if that's the case because everyone wants to talk about the most expensive car. Oh, did you hear the flat bow went for $400,000? Okay, okay. That happens pretty much every day. We know GT3s are expensive. We get it. We try to bring you the most interesting stuff, and that doesn't necessarily mean the best cars. But today we have a pretty darn badass lineup. Starting with what we always talk about. Look, we are known as Porsche guys, and so we have to talk about this particular Targa that apparently comes with an airplane. What is this, Michael? What are we looking at?
Look at that, JP. This is a really interesting car, and man, it's one of those things where do I just not see them all the time, or just because it doesn't look like a Targa, I don't notice them and I see them all the time? It's a very, I think, a really deep question. 2007 Porsche 911 Carrera 4-wheel drive Targa with a 6-speed with just 8,000 original miles offered to us out of North Brunswick, New Jersey. Now, what's interesting in the 996, actually the 993, 996, and 997 generations, the Targa top was just this oversized glass roof. And when they moved back to the 991 JP, they went back to the traditional old Targa bar. And now Porsche dealers cannot acquire enough order allocations from the factory to satisfy the need. Everybody wants one because they look like the old ones. So these 3 generations of Targas are, I don't know, is it fair to say, JP, they're a little unloved? They certainly don't bring a premium, and they don't hold their value as well as perhaps a low mileage stick, would if it was just a coupe, or perhaps even a Spider. These Targas are they're so niche that you kind of wonder what the strength of the market is for them. 997.1, it's a base Carrera. It's 4-wheel drive. It's got the Targa roof, which means it's a cabriolet body with this grafted on frame and big glass roof on there. It's sort of like a fixed in hardtop that's built into the car. So this is arguably one of the heaviest and slowest versions of the 997.1 Carrera. Our car is in a great colorway, being black on black. It does have low mileage. It is a manual, and I really like the adaptive sports seats that are in this car. But JP, I have to tell you, if you gave me this car, I would probably just look to sell it and get something that's a little more driver focused than this. I know it's cool. I'd probably enjoy it for a month, and I'd be over it. It'd be like a moped. I'd be like, that was fun. What else can we do? So Jake, any love for the Targa? My partner loves these things because they're so quirky and weird. He's not bothered by the extra 80 to 100 pounds this car carries or more. He likes it because it's unusual and will find a way to make it cool. Whereas I need to set my hair on fire and be up at the front of the pack. So this car just it bothers my sensibilities. So what do you think of this thing?
Well, I can understand both perspectives because I wouldn't want this car, but at the same time, I've been known to buy cars just because they are the rarest spec. You're talking to a guy who had a Hummer H3T with a manual transmission, which they only made 56 of them, by the way.
What did T stand for?
The truck. It was the truck bed.
Got it. Thank you.
Yes. So I love the looks of the 997. It's more refined than the 996, but somehow it seems more svelte than the 991 is. That being said, I have to agree. It's not the spec I would ever want. It's a manual, which you need to have. But with the 4-wheel drive and the Targa, it's just the thing has got to be a pig. And I hate to even go here because it's so blown out of proportion. But the M97 motor does still have some concerns of an IMS failure with the IMS bearing. And it's much less prevalent on the M97 motors as compared to the M96 of the 996, but it's something to consider. and seeing how this is a very low mileage example, which, by the way, only 8,000 miles. Why don't you drive the damn thing? You know, but with only 8,000 miles, you're not out of the woods as far as maintenance and knowing that this car, you know, doesn't have issues. I was actually told by a good friend who is a master Porsche mechanic. He's like, if you're going to buy a 996 or 997, you want it to have been driven. And lastly, let me just put this into perspective for you guys. I just sold my well-sorted 996 Turbo for just a hair more than the current bid on this car.
Right.
So which would you rather have?
Yeah. Well, look, your mechanic obviously watches Bid Nerds regularly, because every single time we talk about a 996 or 997, I cannot shut up about get one with 50 or 60,000 miles. Yep. I would not touch this car with this few miles. Michael Deeb, I've got to say that when you say that they are unloved and don't bring a premium, that's not necessarily the case. In fact, I think quite the opposite. The Targas bring a huge premium, especially over cabs and even over coupes, because most of these are base models. The Targas are very, very popular within a small group, so they do bring a big premium. The thing I love about this particular platform, as a guy, and Jake, maybe you can go along with me on this one. I mean, we're automotive enthusiast journalists, right? I'm not a journalist at all, but I like to go. I film a lot of cars, right? I have a TV show called Porsche Road Trip, for crying out loud. We need room for gear and drones and cameras and our personal stuff, and that right there. I don't know if you guys can see this, but the 997 and 996 Targas are freaking hatchbacks. So you can fold those seats down in the back, and you can actually, there's room for stuff, and you can access it. I think that is really, really cool. There was, not to get into politics, but the Libertarian Party candidate back in like 2008, the most pragmatic, boring, lamest, guy to ever run for president, specifically said, I drive a Porsche and it's a Targa because it has the most amount of utility. I mean, that's just amazing, right?
It's amazing that you committed that to memory. That's what's amazing.
Hey, I had a subscription to GQ magazine. It was the last magazine that I ever had. I was like, oh, this guy drives a Porsche. That's crazy.
Oh my God.
And he was for legalizing pot. Look, this car is going to be a horrible, horrible, horrible mess. Do not buy this car. 5,000, 7,000 miles. There is about $30,000 worth of maintenance that the factory would have done on this car had it been driven and was under warranty. The rear main seal will leak. It's not going to blow the engine, but it's going to have the camshaft seals. There's so many things that just the M97, M96 engines didn't have right, especially in the first gen. The other thing that happens on these disproportionately, and I don't know how many ads I've seen for Targa 997s in particular, and I don't know why it is, and this is just, this is me saying this is not scientific, but it seems like I've seen a million of these. When you look at the ads, it says engine replaced. Engine replaced. Bore scoring seems to be out of proportion on the Targas. I don't know if whatever run of engines that they were making the Targas for 3 weeks in the factory, and it was all those engines that went into them. Apparently the ones that had the bore score problem, because find an ad for one of these that has 30, 40, 50,000 miles on it that hasn't had the engine replaced at like 20. Do not buy this car. I would run away. Take that airplane.
If your theory were to be borne out, I think it's because the Targa motors have to carry around so much more weight. That's probably it.
That's probably true.
All right.
And fat, heavy boomer septuagenarians are driving them. So even more weight.
There we go again with the septuagenarians.
I knew you liked that word.
Put that away, Grandpa. Okay, so it's a 2007 Porsche 911 Carrera 4 Targa 6-speed with just 8,000 miles in black on black out of North Brunswick, New Jersey. With 4.5 hours to go, our car is already up to a whopping $56,497, lending credence to my partner's claim that these cars do bring a premium. But when you consider all the maintenance this car probably needs to have, I don't think it pencils. Like I said, I don't desire this car. With all that in mind, last night I thought this car would make it to $59,000. It is on Bring a Trailer, and it does have scrolling 13 bids, so not a ton of action. JP, I mean, this really is a weird lot where somebody might pay a premium for it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the market is great for this car. I don't know. It's probably going to go higher than my bid. I think 59 is a little weak. It looks like it's going to break 60. I'm going to go $62,000, Jake, and send it to you. Where do you think this car will finish at?
I just on principle, I can't say that it should go above 60. So
I did too. I put 59 originally, but
yeah, I'm more in that ballpark. It's at 56 right now, and you figure with 13 bids, there's probably only one or two that are going to finish out the race. I'm going to go low. I'm going to go 58.
All right. There you go. Bold prediction, JP.
All right. You guys are both totally, patently, completely wrong about your assessment of the market on these. I'm not saying I necessarily want this car. I do like it, but like I said, run away. You shouldn't buy this car. But this is on BAT. This is a low mileage 911 with a stick. It's black on black, and it's a rare car. It's a Targa. 7,000 miles. There is an idiot. Actually, there's a bunch of idiots out there. They're going to battle and try to, if they could punch people through the internet, they would to get this car. I'm going to bet the over just to be a little on the safe side to get my W in the win category there and say 65, but this car is breaking 70. This car is breaking 70.
JP, then bid 70. Stop.
I can split the difference. I have the power. I'm last. There it is. If you want, I will change it to 70. There it is. You know what? I've handily this week. I've taken this weekend. I have the margin.
You can afford to be cavalier.
I can afford to be cavalier. Yeah. I will change my bid to $70,000 and say that's low. This thing's going higher than that.
All right.
Yeah. Terrible.
Something else from Stuttgart, JP, on Bring a Trailer is this 1991 Mercedes-Benz 560 SEC out of Palm Springs, California. Jake is already getting hot and bothered. With 77,000 miles on the odometer, this car looks to be bone stock right down to the dealer option chrome wheels. Does have a 5.5 liter V8. Not a big power machine. It's like 240 horsepower, but nearly 300 pound-foot of torque. All of that is funneled through a very lame 4-speed automatic transmission. But there were versions of this car, particularly like the AMG Hammer, which I think was actually built on a 300 CE, that were really neat versions. This one has the American headlights with the little wipers on it. The wheels look small by today's standards. But these were neat coupes, and they were built to I think, a higher standard than current Mercedes are. This was an era when these cars were built to a really good quality. Maybe not a performance machine, but certainly a looker. It'd be welcome at any Radwood in the world. Jake, what's your beef? What do you got?
Look, I get that Mercedes are super well engineered and last forever, and you can even look to their racing pedigree to try to bolster the brand, but these cars do absolutely nothing to move the needle for me. This is a grandpa car through and through. It appears to be a very clean and well-kept example, but as I've been known to say before, Mercedes are just German Cadillacs. It's the same person buying them. It's a luxurious little grandpa car with a V8 in it. The single coolest thing about this car is the period correct car phone. That'll take. The rest, I'll leave.
Jake, I'm sorry to say this, but you have offended my Lord and Savior, Patrick Swayze. You can take over an entire town with this car. What are you talking about? This is the coolest car that's ever been. It's bulletproof. You can jump it over sweet-ass jumps and take out bad guys and get a stuffed bear all at the same time. And did you see the hot-ass chick that he got? I mean, come on. She drove a Jeep. Let's do this car. This car is where it's at. If you want to roll into a city and just rent a cheap little barn and hide it under there and then buy a beat-up Buick Riviera, look, this is the car. Patrick Swayze loved this thing. And Patrick Swayze is the man. And if you don't think so, you are just blasphemous. Look, I don't even know. I got to start a fatwa or something like that. This is a holy war now. This is a holy war now. Look, you're right. This car is just a big, heavy, saggy, underpowered, gas-guzzling boat. But I don't know if you can look cooler in anything else. Where, Deeb, is the price going to land on this crazy car?
That's a really good question. JP, our car, let me pull it back up, is at $18,000 with an hour and a half to go out of Palm Springs, California. So I think that this car, last night I was really feeling it. I put $25,000, but man, it certainly doesn't look like it's going to get there. It is on BAT. It is in California. And man, I think somebody will overpay for this thing. I'm going to leave my bid there. I'm going to send this ginormous bid over to Jake. $25,000 to you. my friend?
I think it's overpriced right now for what it is, but I'll say 20.
20. Ooh. There we go. Where you at, JP?
20 grand. Hold on a second. I'm trying to send. I usually don't send texts during the show. Sorry.
But I know that my cohort Christopher Kluhl is blowing you up right now because he
doesn't know how to use the same
towards
link apparently
Mercedes.
as before. It's I'm trying to send him a text and it's just not working. But yeah, he is basically saying. He's basically saying that he is also, one of the apostles of Patrick Swayze and agrees with Jesus, Car Jesus, that this is the best car ever. I don't know. What was your numbers? I was trying to do something else. This car is really...
JP, with an hour and a half to go, our car's at 18 grand. Jake came in at 20 and I came in at 25.
Man, I'm going to bet the over. I'm going to say $30,000. I'm going crazy today. crazy today. I've got the room.
I'm
I've got
offended.
The room.
He's off his meds, Jake. This isn't normal.
Look, if I don't bid high on this car, I mean, I'm not going to go to heaven. I mean, what am I going to do when I get to the pearly gates and it's like, we've got all the dirty dancing going on out there, and he's just going to reach the Sweeze and he's just going to say, "I'm sorry." There's
the Sweeze?
The Sweeze. That is correct. We've got this nice golden escalator that goes up to the to where all the hot chicks are, and then we've got the fireman's pole straight to hell. That's you, man. That's where you go.
Oh my God, the Sweeze. That was great. All right, JP, if you don't make it to heaven, you could just buy this 1991 Volkswagen Vanagan Carat Weekender, and you'll feel like you've died and gone to heaven. This is a submission from...
Wait!
Uh-oh.
Wait!
Uh-oh.
Oh,
no!
Oh, no! Chris Kluhl coming in. Look,
Who let him in?
We went through this Cadillac Mercedes thing. We went through this like a million times, and we totally, completely, and utterly debunked it. We debunked it completely.
Oh, that's great.
It is the same.
I would do to this thing. I would slam it on the ground on some cool Penta wheels. I did an AMG body
because it'd be
kit.
ironically
downtown
cool.
Minneapolis, and I'd pick up so many chicks it would blow your mind.
Yes, from the retirement home. Right, that's where you would get your women from.
Oh my God!
In this situation, I don't think it's your mind that you want blown. I don't get it. Wait, what?
Yeah.
That's all I get. I wanted to just say that Jake is completely wrong about this car. This car is super cool. It's a big block. It's coupe. It's black. It's clean. It needs European headlights. Other than that, this thing is cherry.
Yeah.
All right. So we are seeing a online internet divorce happening between the folks at Overcrest. No blood, fellas. No blood. Hey, since we've got you on here, Chris, where do you think this car is going to land? The 560
it's
SEC.
absolutely worthless. It's absolutely worthless. I'll tell you that.
Because the world is wrong and we are correct. So give us a number then, buddy. Come on. You came on. We logged you in. What do you got?
What's the thing at right now?
18.
Man.
18.
18, really? I'm going to go 23.5.
Nice. Smart man.
Yeah, see, the thing is, we had like all of our, we just lost about, I don't know, probably half of our viewers. So we went from 5 to like 2.5. So there's a half a person listening somewhere. So just because this battle, but hopefully now that we have you two chuckleheads back on, we'll increase it.
I just wanted to come in and say Jake is wrong. That's it.
Yeah. Have fun driving that thing over to the retirement home.
Oh my God, that's so good.
He's out. All right. That was for everybody. That was Chris Kluhl coming in, Jake's partner at the Overcrest Productions. That was pretty fun.
For everyone that just listened, that was Jake's dad. He's like, clean your room.
Mom, I'm on the phone.
Yeah.
I'm on a
Not
podcast.
now. Yeah.
All right. So you tried to tell us about this Vanagan. This is actually pretty badass. Let's get after it.
Doug DeMuro's site. It's a 1991 Volkswagen Vanagan Carat Weekender. JP, this is a submission from Buddha, from Mike Myers out of Las Vegas, South Carolina's own. He selected this car and submitted it for us to take a look at just because it's a rip-roaring little great value here. It's a two-wheel drive rear-wheel drive, 2.1 liter flat four with a manual transmission. It's showing 103,000 miles, but it's TMU. It is in Canada, but JP, look, there's some really cool details. First of all, it's got this little rad front air dam sticking out below the bumper, and the bumper's been painted to match the car. So I'm already digging the way the car looks from the outside. Plus, it's got tinted windows. On the inside, it looks like it has the updated sort of crushed cloth seats that you would expect to find in like a Mark III VW. That sort of velour interior, and their captain's chairs up front with the armrests on both sides of both seats. If you move to the back, it looks like all the stuff that makes this a camper weekender. It's all modern stuff. It's got a stainless steel fridge, and it's got like a little Formica kitchen counter, and like modern, it's got like a flat screen TV and all this great stuff. Somebody kind of went through this entire vehicle, and I'm telling you, I think Buddha knows me really well. I love this thing, and it's just really good that my wife hasn't seen it because we're not in the market for one. I don't know where I would freaking park it. When we make it back to Vegas, this thing's going to be in my driveway. But for the time being, somebody's going to rip this car because it's got 2 hours to go, Jake, and it's not even up to $10,000. So any history with the Volkswagen Vanagan, Eurovan, any of that, like, seems like everybody that comes on our show has a soft spot in their heart or has had 5 of these things. Are you in that category?
Yeah, I haven't had one, but this thing is absolutely just rad. I'll be the first to admit, I'm not a big camper guy, but this looks so fun. And I had 2 thoughts. The first of which you already addressed. That fridge is a full-size apartment fridge the guy put in there, which is ridiculous. But I guess there's room for like plenty of beer all weekend, which would be my sort of camping. The other thing I noted is, so this engine makes all of 90 horsepower. And he did say in the listing that he added a full Class 3 hitch. I don't know why that's necessary with only 90 horsepower to tow around whatever you think you're going to be towing. Yeah. I can't imagine this thing really gets out of its own way very good, but it looks like an amazing time.
JP,
but if you're camping, you don't need a microwave. What are you? What is going on? Okay, yeah, and something that refrigerator, that full size refrigerator. Not only does it take a lot of the space, and there's a lot of space inside of a Vanagan, but there ain't that much space, guys. You don't need a full size refrigerator, or really, it's in reality like a half size, like you said, a small apartment refrigerator. But look. A refrigerator has to be vented. When you buy a Westphalia, it has its own little fridge, and like any other air conditioning, it brings in the air, it makes cold air, and then it vents the hot air. Well, with this refrigerator being in the dang van, it's venting hot air into the van. So if you're in a place where you need that much cool drinks, that many cool beverages, you're probably in a hot place, and your stupid refrigerator is heating up the inside of your. I mean, if you're out in the snow or something, you want to, if you're taking the snowboarding and you want to keep your beers warm and then come back to your van, and your van will be heated by this vented refrigerator. I guess that works. You don't need the heater, but this is just bonkers. For camping, there's so many, and I always say this about Vanagans, Westphalias in general. I think Vanagan Westphalias are really cool, but all that camping gear stuff that comes with them, it's all 20, 30-year-old camping gear stuff, and there's so much better stuff that you can get modern now. Get a weekender that has the pop-up table and the rear-facing middle seats, and get all the space, and then just have a couple of cool boxes stored underneath the rear seats, and have your camp stove and your Igloo or your Yeti or whatever. There's just way better ways to camp with your Vanagan than trying to outfit it like Formica. Come on, man. Formica.
Whatever.
Where's this thing going to land, Michael Deeb?
JP, you make a lot of good points, but man, this thing is still, there's some kind of cool factor. I just feel like the guy who kind of re-outfitted this thing is one of us. I love all this stuff, even though none of it makes sense. The microwave, the oversized fridge, I agree. I couldn't agree with you more. These things already have cooling problems, and now you're going to bring more hot air into the cabin. Imagine bringing a fridge and my mouth into a Volkswagen Vanagan in the middle of summer anywhere in America. You're going to be overheating everywhere. It'll be a sauna. I still love this thing. It's very cool. Mike Myers, Buddha, thank you for the submission. I'm telling you, if I knew I could park this somewhere, I would buy this one. I'd put some Fuchs on it, and I'd drop a 911 motor in there. So anyways, here we go.
You could park it at Buddha's place. He already said you could.
Oh, my goodness. All right. It's at $8,700, and hopefully I won't be around when it closes. On 9 bids, not a lot of action. So Doug DeMiro's site, JP, it kind of breaks my heart because I feel like there's a lot more value here, but just looking at the site and this lot, I'm going to say $12,000 gets it done and it sells at that price. Am I wrong, Jake? Where do you think?
There's only 2 hours left, less than 2 hours, and there's not that much action, like you said. I don't know if it'll even break 10.
Wow.
The number 97 came to mind for some reason.
9,700. There it is, JP.
Yeah, Deeb, you took a good number. This car, if it were a Westie or even a Weekender, if it had a pop top, you're definitely in the 20s. I didn't read the ad very carefully. It does look, however, that the engine was recently rebuilt. There's all those photos of the engine out and the heads off and all that kind of stuff. So that really bodes well for this car because the engines need to be rebuilt pretty much every 20 miles. They are not terribly reliable vehicles. There's all kinds of systems that would fail. I would love to have this thing, Deeb, you're right, put a 911 engine in it. That would be awesome, but cost prohibitive. The thing to do would be to put like a TDI Volkswagen engine in there. Or if you know what you're doing, put a VR6. Those actually work really well in these. Buy this car, gut it. Take the stupid refrigerator and Formica sink out and stuff like that. Put a smaller thing in there and lower it and just make it a street man again. I don't know. Yeah, 12. Do I go above or below? This is cars and bids. Yeah.
Yeah.
And is it in Canada? Am I reading that correctly?
It is. Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah,
it's challenged.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I'm gonna go 11. I say it breaks 10.
Okay,
but not much more than that.
All right.
We are cruising right along. What else we got?
All right, JP, you went ahead and did it anyway. On P-Car Market, we're looking at a 2018 Porsche 991.2 GT3 6-speed manual with just 56 original miles. This car did sell and was registered, so it's not like it's on the original MSO. This car, somebody bought it and then failed to drive it, which I cannot wrap my brain around. You would have a very difficult time, even with the Washington Redskins offensive line, keeping me out of the driver's seat of this car. I would drive the shit out of this thing. Beautiful spec, JP. This car was optioned all the way up to $184,000, which is very well equipped. So you've got leather and stitching. You've got, the big thing on these cars, obviously, is the carbon bucket racing seats and the PCCBs. And this car has both. Add to it the 6-speed manual and an attractive and probably popular black-on-black colorway, and you've got yourself a really nice car. The inexplicable lack of driving on this thing makes it even more of a unicorn because it's basically brand new. So we are seeing GT3s in this hot market bringing over sticker, and those are cars that have, 1,500 and 2,000 miles on them. What would be the market for a car that is essentially sub 100 miles? I mean, think about it. This guy bought the car and hasn't put gas in it yet. Jake, I mean, is this sacrilege or what? In Minneapolis, would you beat this guy's ass for not driving this car?
I would, but I think I have an explanation. If this is the right auction I'm remembering reading through, somewhere in the comments the guy said he has a collection, amongst which is a Carrera GT. I think this was just another car he parked in his underground loft that has, 57 other Porsches. So that explains it. It is an amazing spec. If I were to have built a 991 GT3, it wouldn't be far off from this. I think it's funny. It's so far out of the realm of my own budget that it's hard to really speculate much more on it or comment much more. One thing I do think is interesting, and you alluded to, is the market right now on these. And kind of an illustrative story, I went to the local Porsche dealer here not too long ago, and with the supply chain issues, they only had 3 new cars on the lot. They basically said they were only SUVs. They said, good luck getting any sports car from Porsche right now because there's no supply chain. Right. So this guy, it's already up to 165 or so last time I looked. I think it's going to go over sticker, which was 184, because there's just nothing else to buy new right now. And this definitely fits the bill as a new GT3.
Yeah. JP.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if it were a touring, that was probably the only spec that would be more valuable than this one. It's odd, but that is the world that we live in. The lack of a wing would make this car probably worth an extra $20,000. But and preferably that's the way I would prefer it as well. But yeah, this car, black on black, with the jet ski pattern on the seats. I do not understand what the heck they were thinking with these. But who cares? this car is just epic. I mean, it's a Carrera. It's a 911R. This is the way they should have made the first gen GT3 with a proper 6-speed. 56 miles. Is this a car someone buys and drives, or is this a car that someone says, you know what? There's not going to be a lot of collectors because, like Deeb said, if you own one of these, someone's going to have to wrestle the keys away from you to keep you from driving it. There's probably not many of these that have this few miles. I get that people don't drive them much, but they don't not drive them at all. So is this destined for a museum, or is it someone that's going, yep, I want a brand new car and I can't get one? Where do we think it's going to land, Deep?
So JP, 184,000 was the original MSRP. I would say a 6-speed manual black on black would still bring a premium over that if it had just fair couple thousand miles on it. I'd still say that's $195,000 to $200,000 car. You're going to add a second premium to the fact that this car is basically unused. So I'm basically going 30 grand over original MSRP, and my bid is a weird $114,000.
214.
Wait, 214.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, 214. Thank you.
You can take
114.
Jake. I don't know if we allow bids under what it's actually at, but we'll try.
Thank you. $214,000. Thank you for correcting my bid. But I'm going 15 for the market and 15 for the unused miles and all that sort of thing. So, Jake, where are you at?
This is just so far in the stratosphere. It just kind of boggles my mind. I think right around the 200 mark. I'll say 199.
Yeah. Okay, very nice. JP?
Yeah, 250. This car, you can't get one. If it had 1,500 miles on it, your numbers, I think 214 would be right. But this car, people are going to absolutely be clawing and scratching eyes out to get a hold of this thing. You cannot get a brand new GT3 right now. Can't get one. Not possible. Except that it is, and here it is. How much is a brand new, like an actual GT, like the 992 GT3? What's
Same
the sticker
price
on that? It's like
185. 185 for a
people,
normally optioned one. A high option would be over 190.
Right, and people are paying 50 grand or more to get on a list for one of those. They can't even have the car for another year or two. So if they're paying 50 grand more for a car that's in the ether, they're easily going to pay 50 grand or more for a car you can get today and drive it home. So yeah, I think this car is bonkers land. Plus, it comes with a bag of cocaine in the front. I'm pretty sure I saw that in the pictures. Yeah, Jesus. Man, this car is the car. Wow. All right. Was that the last? That wasn't the last car, was it?
One more.
We still got one more. Okay,
one more. All right. Also on P-Car Market is this 2007 Chevrolet Corvette. It's the Z06 Ron Fellows edition. I happen to just think this car looks really great, so I've always been a little fanboy of this car. They made 399 of them, and Ron Fellows, a Canadian sports car racer that won the championship for Corvette, has signed and numbered underneath the center arm console on each one of the cars. So this is number 110 out of 399 with his signature on it, and his signature colorway, the white with the red stripes. It has 1,500 miles on it, and it's offered out of Springfield, Missouri. So, Jake, any love for Ron Fellows living that close to Canada, or is he a hero in the great state of Minnesota? No.
Not only am I not familiar with him, I hate to admit, JP didn't even send me this link, so I'm flying blind on this one.
Oh, okay.
I had left a slot open for you, Jake, so you could pick a car, but you're like, screw you, I don't want to do any of that.
No, I was looking. Nothing really was that interesting to me. I was going to bring up maybe an original Bronco, but regardless,
cool.
Yeah, these just really don't do anything for me. I love that they're, I don't know. I don't have much to say. I'm not a Corvette guy.
Yeah.
And this just, even the special edition of this seems bland.
Well, and listen, that's a great take, because the special edition of this is strictly cosmetic. So they painted the calipers red, they ball polished the wheels. You got this unique colorway with stickers, and then this hideous black and red interior with fake carbon fiber interior pieces. It's like a tape. So it's weird that Corvette makes these special editions that are just cosmetic and they don't enhance the driving. Like put better suspension on it or put a lighter wheel or a higher spec tire, but they just don't do that. That being said, these cars have always brought a little bit of a premium because they're numbered. So I do think that helps, at least in the Corvette market, even if it doesn't make sense to the rest of us. But as Porsche guys, I think we sort of understand that it doesn't have to make sense for people to still pay a premium. So JP, what do you think of the Canadian edition of the Corvette? I mean, it's kind of a conundrum, right? Oxymoron.
Yeah, I mean, it's a Corvette. I love that it's a 6-speed. And we say this all the time too. You can walk it. In normal times, when cars are actually on the floor at dealerships, you can walk into a Ford dealership, a Chevy dealership, or a Dodge dealership and find whatever their top-end sports car, Z06 or Challenger or a Mustang, whatever. You can walk in and say, I want a manual, and they'll say, which one? There's 6 of them. Go ahead, pick one out, right? Whereas if you go into the Porsche store and you want a manual, they're like, a manual? Really? Okay. Well, let's see here. Bring in your children. Here's the meat grinder. We're going to put them in there first. You're going to have to watch. Bring your wife. We're going to gang, her. They just want everything from you. They want your soul to get a manual Porsche. Whereas, the Americans, as much as we just lambast their cars and tell them, God, you guys make crappy cars, at least they give us what we want. If you want a Corvette, this is the one. It's got a 6-speed. It's got 3 pedals. Most of these stupid things have a auto tragic, and again, the octogenarians are driving around. They're never going more than 50 miles an hour, except the young guy that gets one. He borrows it from his grandfather and smashes into a curb at Cars and Coffee. This car has got to be fun, but it ain't worth a dang bit to me. To me personally, this is like a $13,000 car. I just could not care less about this car. But it's a Z06.
What is the current bid at?
Yeah, it's at $41,000 with a couple hours to go.
I mean,
do you guys think it's gonna come with white New Balance sneakers as well?
As long as they are the most comfortable ones, yeah. They can't be those. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. All right, so the Ron Fellows edition basically is just a cosmetic upgrade, but the Z06 from that era is a normally aspirated 5.7-liter, 500 horsepower Corvette that's rear-wheel drive with a 6-speed manual. It has to be fun to drive, even if you don't want your friends to see you in it. Again, with the moped analogy. So our car's at $41,000 on 5 bids. It's got 2 hours and 40 minutes to go. I don't think it's going to break 50, but I think there's still a little room left. I'm going to say on P-Car Market, this car sells for $48,000. Jake?
What concerned me about that is you said there's only 5 bids, so there's not that many players in here. So at 41 now, you said 45?
48.
48? I'm going to go 45.
45 it is. JP, he took your bid. Where you at?
You know what's not surprising? There's no driving video of this car. Shocking. Because no one drives it. The old guy just couldn't figure out how to use the camera on his cell phone. I'm with you, Jake. Some extras with this car probably would bring a premium like the New Balance sneakers, or maybe if it came with a lawn chair signed by whoever that guy is. Because that's where this car is going to live. It's going to be at Cars and Coffee with all those dudes sitting there, sipping on whatever, talking about, I don't know, Sting. Look, this car is, what's in between you guys? You said
46.5 would be right in between us.
All right, I'll go 46.5. I'm saddling. I'm going to go right in the middle.
Our seller is a dealer, and his handle on P-Car Market is Dino356987. Got to just quick shout out. That's a great little handle there.
So someone probably someone inherited this car and traded it on a Porsche, basically is what you're saying.
Probably.
Because that's really, that's how you get one of these. It's that, an uncle dies and no one else in the family wanted it. And they're like, well, Jake, you're a car guy. Did you want this car? And they're going to, Jake, how often do you get people in your family when they go to sell a car, when they're like, oh, I got to sell a car? Do they blow up your phone and like, how do I sell my Nissan Versa?
Yeah, I have. Usually it's, hey, can you come along to help me buy a new car?
Right.
Or, look at this other used car or whatever it is. So, yeah, that's certainly something that happens, comes with the territory.
Anything else you want to plug, Jake? Because we know the rally. It's too late. You can't get in. Admissions are
unless you want to ride shotgun with JP.
Yeah, the applications did close on the rally, but if I can give a shout out to our podcast, Overcrest Podcast. Anywhere that you listen to podcasts or find podcasts, you already saw my annoying co-host Chris, who barged in on this. So it is, every episode is basically just back and forth like that, and we do everything from car culture, technical explanations, deep dives into obscure history, and it's not just cars. We've done a whole series on like the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works. We've done history of trains and locomotives, and some awesome guests on as well.
A couple of months ago, you guys were talking about trying to meet Sir Mix-a-Lot. Was that you or was that Chris? I can't remember which one.
That's Chris's pet project, and because he's a car guy as well, and would just be a very interesting character to talk to.
Well, he's on my television show, Porsche Road Trip, which you obviously haven't seen yet. So for those of you guys who haven't heard of Porsche Road Trip, make sure you get over on Adam Carolla's network on Pluto TV. That's the Chassis Network. Porsche Road Trip. You can binge watch all 8 episodes with me and Adam Carolla right now. It's available on demand as well, or you can check your local listings and catch it on Chassis TV. And maybe I'll call up Mix and we'll connect him with Chris, and those guys can hold hands and skip diddly do down the Lamborghini trail. But the thing is, in order for me to hook you guys up with Sir Mix-a-Lot, all right, I'm going to think of something. But anyways, we really appreciate you coming on, Jake. I hope we didn't offend your sensibilities too great.
No, not at all. I just can't get behind the old grandpa mobiles, but we'll let that slide. Thanks, guys. It was a lot of fun.
Jake, thank you so much for coming on, man. It was really nice to meet you.
Jake, likewise. Repent to the Swedes. Because you will be judged. All right, guys, that is the show for the week. We are off tomorrow. We will see you Monday. Monday, I believe, I'm teasing this, I think we've got Chrissy from Everyone Racers coming on. We have a lovely lady joining the program, so we'll have to shower and not be the smelly, gross guys that we usually are. And look for those guys, Everyone Racers podcast on the YouTubes. I think they have an audio version as well. Make sure you guys check out Overcrest Productions. Probably it's easily one of the best automotive podcasts out there. My top 2 favorite. Way better than Bid Nerds because we suck at this. Thanks for joining us. We will see you guys next week. Oh, Deeb, did you want to say something?
Thanks, Buddha, for the submission.
Later. Get the word!